Now, we're going to talk a little bit about Ted Kennedy, and of course they had the memorial service for him over the weekend, and mainly we're going to talk about who might fill his Senate seat. In order to help us do that, we've brought on Frank Phillips. He is the Boston Globe State House Bureau Chief. Frank, welcome to the Young Turks.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now, it appears that who is going to replace him hinges on Joe Kennedy, the second. Can you tell our audience who he is, what his background is, and why it seems to hinge on his decision?
He's the oldest son of Robert Kennedy, nephew of Senator Edward Kennedy. He was a congressman here from Massachusetts. He took Tip O'Neill's place in the Congress, that seat that was held by O'Neill and previously that by his uncle John Kennedy, back in the 40s. He served for about a dozen years. He is an interesting character. He's in many ways very dynamic and People magazine kind of quality. He generates a lot of excitement on the campaign trail. He's also can be clumsy. He doesn't follow the protocol of politics and can be impetuous and temperate. But he's got a lot of charisma too, and he stepped out of politics about 10 years ago and has been running a low-cost energy, providing low-cost oil to low-income families.
Now, look, we're a talk show, right? So I have opinions, to say the least.
Sure.
And I agreed with Ted Kennedy's policies for the large part. Now, having said that, I don't understand Massachusetts' absurd fascination with the Kennedys. And I've got to ask you, or you covered obviously there, it still holds true in the year 2009 that we're only looking to Kennedy's wife or his kids or his cousins to replace him in our democracy?
No, there's others. There's some congressmen who are looking at it. The Attorney General here is looking at it. The Attorney General, Martha Coakley, says she will run if Kennedy gets into it. She'll challenge him. There's a congressman, Steve Lynch from South Boston, Democrat, conservative Democrat. He's been in for about 8 years. He says he'll challenge him. Others, two other congressmen who would like to run for it, said they'll step aside for Kennedy. The Kennedys hold a big sway here in the state. You go back to Jack Kennedy and Ted Kennedy here for holding that seat for close to 50 years. There's a great legacy there in the Democrats' mind. And mind you, this is a Democratic primary that will really decide this because it's an overwhelmingly Democratic state.
So how real is it, though, Frank? That's what I'm asking. I mean, if Joseph Kennedy runs, is it really a foregone conclusion that someone like Ed Markey, who's been in the House for a long time and is an accomplished legislator, doesn't really have a chance?
He would step aside, and he wouldn't have a chance. Ed Markey has a lot of accomplishments. He's very articulate. He's got some money in the bank. He could do a very credible job at running. The Kennedy name still has a lot of sway. And this Kennedy of this generation, he's got a dozen years in the Senate, in the House. He's been in business. He's got a credible, record in the business world. He's got something there.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing with his qualifications. He was in Congress from '87 to '99. He runs an energy company which provides discounted heating oil to low-income people. God bless. Sounds fantastic. I have a problem with these political dynasties, that we should elect people because their last name is Bush or Kennedy, and I just wish that things would be a little bit more competitive than that. And I'm just surprised that it's 2009 and we're still making decisions based on last names.
Well, I think that's a good argument. I think I wouldn't disagree with that.
So let's talk about real quick. You mentioned some of the people that might run against him. Who would be the most progressive in that race, if they were all in it? If, let's say, Joseph Kennedy doesn't run, so the Ed Markeys, etc., it's more of an open field and they might enter. Who would be the most progressive?
Probably Michael Capuano, who took Kennedy's place in the House. He's a former mayor of a working class city just outside of Boston, Somerville. Grew up in the streets, but went off to Dartmouth, got an Ivy League education. he's taken over what is essentially probably the most liberal congressional seat in the country. Tip O'Neill had it, Jack Kennedy had it, and then Joe Kennedy had it. He's out there very liberal. He's on a lot of issues, and I would think he would be the most progressive in that race.
Is there any chance a Republican will win in Massachusetts?
Well, you know, it's easy to dismiss it. It's a well-funded, you know, Republican campaign. Probably they won't. We don't have a tendency here in the state to send Republicans to Washington, and particularly in a special election. I couldn't see that happening. That said, what's going to happen in January? Is the unemployment rate going to be any higher? Are we going to be? Is there going to be more anger out there on the streets about what's going on with health care and everything else? Are people going to be angry? And were they ready to turn on the Democratic Party? You know, things could happen. Lightning could strike. The general thinking is the Republicans really are not going to be that competitive in this race.
All right, and most importantly, in my mind, what's going to happen in the meanwhile? Have we settled that yet? Are we just going to go with no Massachusetts senator all the way till January, when we might have an incredibly relevant vote on health care in the meanwhile? Or is there any hope that Deval Patrick will name someone as an interim senator until we have the special election?
I get a sense there's a momentum towards that. There's some resistance in the among legislators. These state representatives have been slashing budgets and raising taxes. They're very sensitive to what's going on in their precincts, and they feel it. They feel some voter agitation and anger out there, and doing something that is controversial like this and could be stirred up as a major problem for them in a re-election year. Draw candidates into to run against them. They're nervous about it, and I think they've got to be walked through it. But in the end,
Frank, can I just jump in there for a second? Is it really that controversial? Because if they change the law so that the government just flat out appoints the Senate seat, yes, that would be controversial, because it was the Democrats who changed the law in the first place to have a special election. Or if the person he appointed wound up running in the primary, yes, that would be controversial, because then they'd have a huge leg up. But if it's just an interim position and they step aside in January, why is it that controversial?
It's got to be framed, as you said it, just that. Massachusetts needs a voice always there and there, particularly with these important issues. If it's framed, though, if you go back to when they put this special law in 2004, Kerry was going to be president, John Kerry, and they did not want Mitt Romney appointing a Republican to the position, even temporarily, and so they created a special election to take 5 months, and the Democrats rejected the idea of an interim appointment. Now they're doing a complete flip-flop. Democrats in power, and they want this interim appointment. So that there's a rub there. There's a hypocrisy here that could be really stirred up and made look like just raw partisan politics.
And I hear you on that, and you're right. If they did especially say that there should be no interim senator, yes, then there is a little bit of hypocrisy there. Now, they might get beyond that. They might pass a law. Real quick, under a minute here. If they do, who would be the most likely candidate to be the interim senator?
You know, it's only speculation at this point. The most prominent name would be Michael Dukakis, the former governor and 1988 presidential nominee. He's 75 years old. The whole idea is this is somebody who's not going to run for the office. He's well versed on health care. He's got national stature. He'd know how to handle the office. And then there's other people who you wouldn't know, but who have been staff members working on legislation for Kennedy and the like. But nobody really that prominent. It's not even on the governor's mind at this point. I talked to the governor the other day, and he said, I ain't even thinking about this. Let's get this thing through. We got other things to do here.
That's interesting. Yeah, Dukakis makes sense to us, too. Frank Phillips from the Boston Globe, we really appreciate you coming on the Young Turks.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for calling.
If you like this clip, you'll love the whole show. You can watch that at theyoungturks.com.